Bonjour. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stanislas, French language specialist for the Department of Modern and Classical Language. It's a pleasure to welcome you to Song, Stories, and Identities, Creolization across the Caribbean and the US South. Today we explore the cultural connection between the Caribbean and the US Gulf, shaped by shared histories, musical tradition, and evolving identities. Inspired by Edouard Glissant's Tout Monde, this conversation would delve into post-plantation society, carnival practice, and the complexity of Creole identities. We are honored today to have an outstanding panel with us. Bruce Sunpines Barnes brings the sound and spirit of Louisiana Creole heritage. Melissa Lavo, Haitian-Canadian singer, songwriter, explore music, history, and diasporic spirituality. And Bertrand Dical, a French journalist and music specialist, provide insight into the global impact of Creole music. Leading the discussion are Dr. Damien Rakonjak, musicologist from the Moore School of Music, and Dr. Kavita Singh, a specialist in Caribbean literature and postcolonial studies from the Department of English. I'd like to take a moment to personally thank Melissa Noble for the Cynthia Wood Mitchell Center of the Art, Ambassador Michael Pelletier and Stacy Michael at the Institute for Global Engagement, Bettina and the team at Villa Albertine, Dr. Damien Rakonjak, Dr. Kavita Sain, Dr. Amanda Verdenberg, Dr. Keith McNeil for their invaluable support in making this event possible. This event is a collaboration between the Institute for Global Engagement, the Department of Modern and Classical Language, the Moore School of Music, with generous support from the Cynthia Wood Mitchell Center for the Art, Villa Albertine, and Cité Internationale de la Langue Française. Merci for joining us, and I will let Ambassador Michael Pelletier to say a few words on behalf of IG. Thank you.
Bonjour, bonsoir, bon après-midi, surtout à nos amis qui sont venus de loin pour venir nous parler. Merci beaucoup. I'm Michael Pelletier. I'm the Executive Director of the Institute for Global Engagement here at the University of Houston, and I just want to say a few words because I am here to listen and learn from the experts like the rest of you and not to hear me speak. And so I just wanted to say a few words. First of all, to thank, as I just did, our speakers and experts who've come today to talk to us. I also want to say a huge thank to Stanislas and to Modern Classic Languages and the French division who have hosted him. One of the things that we try to do in the Institute for Global Engagement is find ways where we can all be global without ever leaving UH. It's a lot cheaper, it's a lot easier, it takes a lot less paperwork, but it can also get you hooked. It can get you interested in what's going on in the rest of the world, and we hope that is one of the fringe benefits of programs like this program this evening. And so I encourage you to go online, uh.edu/global. We're easy to find, and we try to do things all over campus in all of the different fields that UH has to help you find ways to connect globally through your education and through your time here at the University of Houston. So with that, I'll just say thank you to everyone who pulled this together. Thank you again to our experts who've traveled to come and speak with us this afternoon, and I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. My name is Alessandro Carrera. I'm the director of the Modern and Classical Languages Department. I'm very happy to be, I will be only for a few minutes, but I think that this will be a great event. I mean, Creolization, the music of the US South and the Caribbean. My personal competence does not go beyond Clifton Chenier, Zydeco Music, and the Neville Brothers, but maybe this name ring a bell to someone. I think this will be a great opportunity to hear music that has been great and extremely influential. And of course, I have to thank Stacy Michael Pelletier, Stanislas. They have been of great help, and they had a great idea in organizing this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanislas. My apologies, I preempted you. I see there are quite a few of my students here. And so I want to introduce briefly our speakers for today. We might say in an academic format, this will be our panel. So we have three panelists visiting today. And then after me, Professor Kavita Singh is going to give us more of a theoretical background of some of the themes we're going to broach, some of the themes we're going to discuss today. But since this is one of the major themes, is le tout monde, that was already brought up, I just want to translate that for you. That means the whole world, basically. But in French, there's a kind of tout le monde, there's a similar phrase, which means sort of society people. And so we have a kind of society that we've invited here today to start the discussion about Creolité, Creolization, and Creole identities and musics and cultures. So we're very fortunate today to have three outstanding musicians, practitioners of music, innovators, educators, as well as public personalities who are, making Creole identities and musics reach a much wider public than they might. And so we have Bruce Barnes, who is a really kind of well-known musician. He's based out of Louisiana, not just geographically, but also culturally. He plays a mix of musics that come from Louisiana, of different genres that he calls Afro-Louisiana. So for those of you who are in my class, and we were talking about Afro-diasporic musics a lot, and how it's actually a blend of sort of West African, Central African, European, Caribbean, indigenous, Latin American cultures, well, that mix represents Creole identity very well, in fact. So we're very, very lucky to have Bruce here, and he's also one of our musicians today, so we might be fortunate enough to have him, hear him play the accordion a little bit. Now, for my students, you've heard the accordion in a norteño and tejano context, but this is going to be slightly different. It's going to be a little bit, I don't know what, spicier maybe? Okay, so then we have Melissa Laveau, who is a Haitian-Canadian singer-songwriter, somebody who really thinks about sort of the craft of songwriting and who's actually extremely well-read and has really, really deep ideas about sort of her practice as an artist, as a musician. I've been fortunate enough to have at least 2 discussions with her, one online and one in person. But I really can't wait to see sort of what kind of enriching discussions we're going to have with her up here. And I also brought my guitar and my amp up here because she sort of mentioned, oh, I left my guitar back home. Maybe I can't play tonight, or today. So I sort of said, oh, yeah, I have one in my office. So we'll see if we'll get a little bit of music as well. And of course, we have Bertrand Dical as well, who is a presenter for France Musique. So this is the big public radio station in France. If you say public radio station, in the US we go, oh, like NPR, who listens to that? But in France, the public stations, that's the big deal, right? This is really where you reach the public. And so Bertrand, among other things, runs a very long-standing radio show about songs, and he sort of thematizes different types of songs, including he's done quite a bit of work on actual Creole genres and Caribbean songs and genres, and the way they go back and forth between the metropole, meaning France, and the Caribbean. And so we're very, very fortunate as well to have Bertrand here as well, in person with us. So the way this is going to work is that the 3 panelists will each get about 15 minutes to present some of their work, a little bit of their music or performance. And then afterwards, we would like to open it up to questions in the spirit of sort of, public education that we do here at University of Houston. And so if anybody wants to ask anything in person of these really magnificent presenters, you are more than welcome to. And of course, Professor Kavita Singh and I will also be there to facilitate discussion afterwards. So without further ado, I would like to invite Professor Kavita Singh to say a few words about the themes today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. I thought maybe I can invite the panelists to make their way onto the stage while I give you a little bit of an informal overview of the concepts of Creole and Creolization, just so you sort of know what we're talking about. And with the caveat that Creole and Creolization are terms that are constantly being redefined, that they have different meanings wherever you go in the world. Even our panelists here using it in France would mean something different from using it in Haiti, which would mean something different from using it in Guadeloupe. I know it means something different in the Anglophone Caribbean, depending on which country you're from. But there are some core similarities in the concept of the Creole. And one of the fundamental ones of those is the history of colonization, out of which Creole cultures, Creole language, Creole identities emerged. And to give a bit of that background, Creole initially was used to describe people who lived in the colonies, were born in the colonies, as distinct from people who came from Europe or from elsewhere. Initially, it was used to describe Europeans who were not pure enough to have been born in Europe, right? So the term initially carried connotations of contamination, right? It carried an idea of indiscipline, right? It was not necessarily a compliment, right, for someone to be considered Creole or to show too much Creole-ness, even in the 18th and 19th century. Over time, however, it came to have the meaning that relates to mixing, that we often use it to mean today in a casual sense. We talk about Creolization and Creole cultures, Creole food, Creole music, and we're thinking about syncretic cultural products. We're thinking about people who are mixed. We have these ideas of biological Creolization, cultural Creolization, and one of the key terms that is used when we talk about Creole is, one of the key categories is with regards to language, right? Creole language is also an outcome of colonization largely in the Americas, and it has been used to describe the language that people have come up with within the plantation society in order to communicate with each other, largely formed from various African tongues that were native to them and to their ancestors, and its contact with French or English, as well as indigenous languages, etc. But the language as well, like the concept of culture, was also treated as lesser than, as not a true language. It was seen as a bastard language. And so these ideas of the Creole being something problematic, unclean, etc., sort of continues, but today has been reclaimed and recognized for what has always been there, but has been repressed, which is the tremendous creativity and ingenuity that it took for people under repression, for people who have been enslaved and forced to travel the world, for people who have been put into a violent context where they have no rights, where their bodily autonomy is under question, for those people to then come up with their own language, a language that allowed them to communicate with each other and to express themselves, right? For those people to not just come up with a language, but new rituals, new ways of living together, new ways of finding joy and beauty in their lives. So when we're talking about Creolization and Creole culture and music and language today, we're talking about some of the results of that ingenuity, right? We're talking about what happens when we embrace Creolization as a process that is ready for change, that is ready for any challenge, as something that has responded to violence in the past and can continue to respond to new forms of violence, to new forms of repression. There have been many people who have theorized Creolization. The anthropologists do it, the literary scholars like myself do it, the linguists do it. There are so many different academic ways of thinking about Creolization. I won't go into a lot of them in detail. I won't go into any of them in detail, to be honest. But many people know Creolization as a concept through the Martinican thinker Edouard Glissant. But since Damien mentioned tout monde, which is a concept Glissant came up with, I'd like to add to that another Martinican thinker, Monsho Ashi, who wrote once that tout moun, which is a Creole term, that he points to the way in which the word moun, which is related to monde, which in French means the world, or also people, but that in Creole, it can also mean an individual. And what he tried to point out was that only in a language that is able to conceive of both an individual and a whole community in the same word, right, could you understand, only in that kind of space could you understand the strength and the possibility of a concept like Creole and Creolization. So, I will now yield to our wonderful panelists who themselves have brought that history, that ingenuity, that capacity for resistance and improvisation into their own art and creativity. I hope you enjoy.
Mon petit, merci pour tout le monde qui dont m'a invité pour venir ici pour faire quelque chose. I was just listening to Dr. Singh there talking about Tout Moon and play a little Louisiana song for you called T-Moon. C'est la même chose. Où t'as été hier soir, mon petit monde? Hey, hey, petit monde. Tu m'as quitté pour ton échelle, mais tu m'as fait braver. Oh, 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 petit monde. Comment faire, mon Dieu Seigneur? Oh, petit monde. Tu m'as quitté pour ton échelle, mais tu m'as fait brailler, m'as fait brailler, m'as fait brailler. Hey, hey, petit monde. Quoi t'as fait, mon Dieu Seigneur? Hey, petit monde. Tu m'as quitté pour ton échelle, mon fait brailler. Hey, petit monde. Comment faire, cher, mon fait brailler? Timoun, a little more of the vocal here. Merci, merci. Mardi Lavo, Tibo Mambo, Vini, Vini, Mardi, Vini, Mardi, Mardi Lavo, Mardi Lavo, Mardi, Mardi, mais où Outaïté m'a dit lavo, tes enfants m'a dit lavo, j'ai beaucoup soif, enfant m'a dit lavo, j'ai beaucoup faim, m'a dit lavo, m'a dit lavo. Vini mari labo, Natou mari labo, Chimugine la mari, où t'as été hier soir mari, mari labo, mari labo, mari labo, mari labo. Marie Lavo. Okay, we're going to try a little something together. On est mettre tout mon petit monde tous ensemble. I want to share with you a few rhythms that we can take with us. You know, every culture of people has innate, built-in metronomes inside their body. And it's like, it comes from your mother when you're in the womb. Whatever they're doing, whatever rhythms they have going on then with them or inside them and around their life, you know, that's what you carry with you. So this is one of those rhythms that is kind of universal around the Creole world. And it's known for many different things. You know, in Louisiana, we call it the bambula because the people that came from the Senegambian River Basin were using this rhythm, but it's in many different places. So we can try it together. It sounds like this. And it's used to tell stories, to sing and dance, and be able to improvise and say what you want to in the moment that you have something to say. Step back and give somebody else a chance as well, right? Mon aigle partivé, couscous après brûlé, caillette partiré, cher caillette partiré. Mais va voir qu'il est, va voir qu'il est, va voir qu'il est, nana, va voir qu'il est. So les après coucher, la lune après lever. Caillette partiré, cher caillette partiré. Mais va voir qu'il est, va voir qu'il est, va voir qu'il est, maman, va voir qu'il est. Couscous après brûlé, caillette partiré. Mon homme le partivé, cher, mon homme le partivé. Mais va voir qu'il est, va voir qu'il est, va voir qu'il est, maman, va voir qu'il est. Une année, tu es pas qui est une année, tu es pas qui est une année, hey, je peux une année, maricuri bonbon, une année, everybody sing, une année, can y'all help me? Une année, a little louder. Une année, I'm on my way, I'm on my way. On allait, une année, hey Malina, une année. Say who gonna sing ya? Une année, unane, me kere mi hako, unane, unane, tuwe pakiwe, unane, unane. Kuna fea. Merci. Hey mama, hey mama, mama, hey maman, mais quoi te faire avec ton ex? Les haricots et pas salés, les haricots et pas salés. Ye tavale matrono, me gari hipitayo. Hey maman, hey maman, hey maman, mais quoi te faire avec ton ex? Les haricots et pas salés, les haricots et pas salés. Ye tavale matrono, gari hipitayo. Hey maman, hey maman, maman, hey maman, les haricots et pas salés, cher. Hey maman, hey maman, maman, hey maman, mais quoi te faire avec ton ex? Les haricots et pas salés, les haricots et pas salés. Ye tavale matrano, me gari hipitayo. Merci bien.
So, when we had a Zoom to discuss ideas of what we would throw out today, we talked about what Creolization meant to all of us. And the first thing I came up with was, for me, it's joy. As a Haitian Canadian, but mostly as a Haitian, Canada's got its fault. Haiti has such, I swell with pride whenever I talk about Haiti. I always have amazing anecdotes about Haitian history. I'm very proud to be a Haitian. I think if you know a Haitian person, we're really annoying about how proud we are about Haiti. I know. And so the first song that I did not plan on performing today is a song about joy. It's called L'Enfant Bois. It was written by Franz Cassius, a classical guitarist, Haitian guitarist, who was born during the U.S. Navy occupation of Haiti. The U.S. Navy occupied Haiti for 20 years, took hold of the national treasury, reversed laws that had been there for over a century just to own land. Because at the base, when Haiti declared itself a country, it declared itself it's the first free black republic. And so everybody who wanted to own land in Haiti had to declare themselves a black Republican. Not a Republican like we know them here, obviously, but a black person of the Republic. Doesn't matter what you came from. People came from all over, but you had to declare yourself black if you wanted to own land in Haiti. And you had to vow to never be a slave owner again. And so the Americans came and the American Navy came and destroyed all of that for 20 years. And one of the things they did, they were so afraid because they'd heard that the Haitians had freed themselves from slavery, and they didn't think that it was strategy, they didn't think it was intelligence, they didn't think it was the instinct to create a language that would unify people from all over the west coast of Africa. They thought, it's gotta be the devil. And so they said, we cannot allow them to practice voodoo ever again. And they banned voodoo, except that Haitians are very, very stubborn and still practiced. And so this song is about practicing voodoo without mentioning voodoo at all. It's just talking about having a good time in the woods. There's beautiful people, there's Yonvalu dancing, there's fresh water, there's rum, but it never mentions the exact words. It says, let's just go and have a good time. And so for me, it's one of the biggest signs of how Haitians present joy, and especially defiantly. I will be happy no matter what. When connais un côté n'enfant, un côté sur aller arrêter. When connais un côté journée, un côté sur aller arrêter. Gagne rivière collée fleur, gagne dans say velo, actombu, gagne fleur. Connais un côté neuf hours, un côté sur les arrivés. Connais un côté jour noir, un côté sur les arrivés. Gagne collègue fleur, não sei o valor. Actombu, gefle. Je l'ai sous couché, on allait. Jour levé, jour couché, on allait, la forêt, give fleur, give and wood, give the sail value, at the wood, give fleur, give fleur, give fleur, give fleur, fleur. We were just talking before with Bertrand, and I said the first 3 songs of all of my sets, I'm coughing because I'm already nervous, and so I just have acid reflux. So it's not, I don't have bird flu. I'm just coughing up lunch that we just had, and I ate as if I wasn't going to sing, because I would have just eaten potatoes if I had known. I'm sorry. So. I'm going to play one of my songs because I guess I have to as a songwriter. It's kind of weird to play other people's songs. So this song, all of my albums have one song about a nightmare. I always say it's a dream, but actually it's a nightmare. And this one day I had found out that I had asthma. And it explained so many things. I thought I was just getting winded in stairs, but I was just getting asthma attacks. And going from the very clean air of Ottawa to Paris, sort of destroyed my lungs for a little bit. And I came to my apartment building and I saw my neighbor who lives on the 6th floor while I live on the 4th floor. And she says, "Oh, you have asthma too. My mom died of an asthma attack. She had an asthma attack and then freaked out. So she had a heart attack and died." And I was like, why would you tell me this? Now you know that we're not close anymore. And so I go home, and of course, as an anxious person, I think of what she said, and I start freaking out. And I have an anxiety attack in my dream where I'm just having an asthma attack anyway. And so it's like instead of having a sleep demon, the sleep demon is just my lungs failing me. And so I'm choking, I'm like, ah! And then in nightmares, you sort of just have one nightmare and another nightmare and another nightmare. And I kept having different nightmares in which I was choking until all of a sudden I wake up in another nightmare, except I'm not myself, I'm a whale. Like, and I'm very surprised, and I think the surprise and shock of being a whale just got me to stop coughing. And all of a sudden, I'm super happy, I'm singing, I'm eating people I hate, and I'm just swimming all day, and it's the best time. And I wake up for the real, and I wake up in my body, and I realize I'm no longer a whale, and I inexplicably weep for an hour. Like, why am I not a whale? I could breathe. The biggest lungs on earth, or in the ocean. And so I decided to write a song to console myself about waking up as a whale. In my sleep, couldn't breathe. I grew gills. I went deep. I went deep, bathing you. I'm away. I'm away. I'm away, roaming the seas.
feel good. I'm never empty. Ain't no rhythm in me, you see. Life and death gone before me. Life and death gone before in my sleep. I felt weak, I grew big, I grew bigger. Took the surface for the stage, my place. They say, plenty, and I'm bound to the sea, the sea. Oh God, I'm never empty of the memories in me, you see. Life and death gone before me. Life and death gone before. Not empty, so plenty, so heavy. Not empty, so plenty, so heavy.
Songwriters never liked singing their own songs. So this song is a Haitian lullaby I heard when I was a little girl on a CD, a record. I didn't have CDs at the time. I'm old. And it was a vinyl from Martha Jean-Claude called Canciones de Haïti. And because Martha Jean-Claude had been exiled from Haiti, and so lived in Cuba for 35 years. And so this one song, it just tells a child to go to sleep or else crabs will crawl out of the ocean and eat it. And I do not have trouble falling asleep. Maybe it's because of the song. Maybe I'm narcoleptic, who knows? But I want the moment that I knew the song was really special is when I got to see it on TV in Canada. And there was a children's TV show, and there was for the first time on Canadian TV, there was a black puppet, like a little girl that was a black puppet. And her name was Douale, which is not a Haitian name at all, but I didn't care because she sang the song. And then all the kids in my class knew the song now, and all of a sudden I was cool for like a hot minute.
Tibiti mama, da 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 da, tibiti mama, s'il y parlait de comme la veine rangée, s'il y parlait de comme la rangée, oh 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 oh. Oh, 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 hello, oh, oh, oh. La pêche crève, si les belles comme la voile manger, si les baleines, comme la manger, she could chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really know the music, do ya? It goes like this with the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Baby, I've been here before. I walk this road and I've seen this door. I used to live alone before I knew you. It's not some ride that you see at night. It's not somebody you see in the light. It's your calling, it's your broken. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Thank you so much, Melissa. We will turn with that to our final speaker, Bertrand.
English.
Okay.
As far as I'm French, and you know, French people, we are very proud of being strong in languages. In fact, we are not. The main thing that we do with languages is to invent new words and new ideas and new concepts and new notions. We invent totally useless things like the Eiffel Tower, and everybody says, "Oh well, it's so French." And we were talking about the tout monde. Le tout monde, it's totally impossible to translate because even in French, it is very obscure notion. And as far as the proper syntax of French language is concerned, it doesn't mean anything, tout monde. It doesn't mean anything. But it is the most useful ideas that we can use today and for a big part of our life. It was invented by Edouard Glissant. And if you look at Edouard Glissant, you understand what is the tout monde. Edouard Glissant was coming from Martinique. He was coming from the north of Martinique. We are talking about a very small town in a very small island. His skin, the skin of Edouard Glissant, is obviously African. He's talking from the beginning of school and even in his family. He was talking in French. He was speaking French, which is a European language. He was living in America. Caribbean, it's America. The disease, the storms, the sea, the birds, the insects, the pests, biggest part of the plants are American. And when he was talking about my things, my field, my house, the law, it was a very European concept. And when he was having a lunch in his family's home when he was a kid, you've got to know that the cuisine, the food, the everyday's food in the French West Indies, and even the British smaller Antilles, is mainly coming from Asia. It's Indian. In fact, it's Indian food, globally. And this is what is the tout monde. And Edouard Glissant was saying that he was a European. As far as food was concerned, he was from India. He was from everywhere at the same time. This is the tout monde. This is the fact that you are connected with the whole world. And in return, that means that you're everywhere in the world, you can be understood. What they've played, it's especially from the New Orleans, or mainly Asian, but everywhere in the world, there is a part of this music which is familiar. But if you look at what is a Saturday night in Lagos, in Paris, in Houston, in Hong Kong, most of the music is Creole. You've got the reggae, you've got the zouk, you've got all the musics coming from the blues and the jazz. You've got the reggaeton, you've got the salsa, you've got the bossa nova, you've got the zouk. You've got hundreds of styles and genres. The Saturday night, almost everywhere in the world, is Creole. And there is something that is very difficult to understand almost everywhere in the world at the same time, is that it is not the idea of universal. It is not a universal music. The creolity, it is hundreds of culture, and in the same time, the same event, which is the fact that millions of Africans had been enslaved, sent to the New World, where they met people from Europe, and those people from Europe were not the actual Europe. It was not European cultures. It was rebels, scars from European cultures. And that's where the Creole languages come from. Some kind of extraordinary creative tragedy, catastrophe, crime, but extraordinary creative. The fact that everywhere, you were talking about joy. All those musics are very often really joyful, really optimistic. I don't know if you know the group Cassav, who from Guadeloupe and Martinique and France, who created the zouk. It is a very savage and joyful and happy music. Really danceable, a really Saturday night music. It's always tragedy. If you listen to the lyrics, it's always tragedy. It's always a drama. And that's what is our Creole cultures. The fact that we survived. The children, the slaves, and the children of the slaves, and the grandchildren of the slaves, but not only. The engaged people. The people from India, from China, from Indochine, from other parts of Africa, and from Europe, who were sent to this new world and lived really awful lives. And what is the most magnificent gift of the creolity to the world is to give this joy, this way to survive to the world. And that's why everywhere in the world, those musics are familiar because there is a little part of Africa in each one, a little part of Europe, a little part of Asia, a little part of something that you already know. There are styles that you don't know, never heard about. The Caseco from the French Guyane, the Massa Saint-Jean from Guadeloupe, the Sega tambour from the very small island of Rodrigue in the Indian Ocean. Nobody knows those musics out of those small islands. But you listen to them, you will be tapping the rhythm, you will have something that comes and gives you something really familiar. The big issue is that the Creole cultures are all culture from the south, from small countries. The miracle of Calypso, for instance, is that it comes from a small island, Trinidad, but it had to pass through New York and the American show business to be spread all over the world. It was the same thing with the begin, with the mambo, with the zouk, who used the imperial power of America, Great Britain, or France to spread out the world. And what you have to remember with the Creole musics, it's not only the musics of people and islands in small countries who suffered the hell, in fact. But at the same time, it is a huge message of survival and pride and joy and having fun at the same time, always at the same time.
So at this time, we have about 15 minutes left, and most of our panelists have, all of our panelists have presented. We've had some wonderful musical presentations, and thank you, Melissa, for impromptu performing a little bit. I'm glad we made you perform despite the differences. Thank you, Bruce, for waking us up and getting us clapping, and thank you, Bertrand, for this wonderful historical encapsulation of the topic, and bringing in this element of real kind of, gravity to it, because in a strange way, sort of like Melissa was talking about the ambiguity between the dream, this kind of utopic space, and the nightmare, Creolity and the history of where the Creole identity has come from typically is really trying to negotiate and have a relationship with that kind of idea. These islands are tropical islands, and you think of this kind of utopic identity. On the other hand, there's some really, really difficult histories that everyone's dealing with. And so that's something to sort of consider. So first of all, I would like to ask if anybody has any kind of question related to music, language, history, or anything you might have noticed that you're curious about for our panelists. Are there any questions? Yes, I can bring you the microphone. If you would like to introduce yourself, you're also welcome to as well.
Hi, I'm Alicia. I am in elementary French, so I'm not too good at French, but I'm very infatuated with the French culture. And something I was wondering recently, like my boyfriend, he speaks French, but whenever someone speaks Creole around him, he doesn't understand it. And I thought, and that was just my ignorance, I thought they were the same. It was my ignorance. But how did the language come about? And any of you can answer, but was it like a mockery of French, or was it, how did it come about?
We should also say 2 words and have to be brief. But I'm born in Montreal to Haitian parents, but I went to French schools because I was in Canada, and my parents spoke French to me. No, my parents spoke Creole to me at home, but I was not allowed to speak it back. So my Creole, I find that my pronunciation sucks. Other than that, I understand it perfectly. I write songs in Creole. I just refuse to speak it in front of other Haitians because they will mock me. My brothers mock me. They speak good. They speak better Creole than I do, because they're born in Haiti, and they mock me. And so I understand why a Haitian born in the U.S., where they had not necessarily gone to a French school, and their parents might not have spoken French to them, because the national language of Haiti is Creole. That's the language that's spoken in the government. That's the language that's spoken in schools, and not French. Although most Haitian people are perfectly trilingual: French, Creole, Spanish, and even English if you travel a lot around the world. But it's the interesting part is it's hard to maintain French if you don't go to a French school. The Creole in itself as a language, it's not one language. Every Creole is different according to the country that you are in, the space that you're in. So there's some people who speak Creole in Reunion Island, which is in the Indian Ocean, and the Creole is completely different because it's not composed of the same base languages. Creole in Haiti has Yoruba, Kiswahili, French, Spanish, English even, but the Creole in Reunion Island will have a lot more East Asian languages included, and East African languages included in it.
That's actually cool.
You have to understand at the same time that the Creole language are very fast. In 2 generations, it happens to a Creole language what happened to a European language in 1 century. I think that my children would have very big trouble to understand my grandmother's Creole, for instance. You see, the language is changing very fast. But the first thing is that the Creole languages were what the linguists used to call a langue zero language. This is a very utilitarian idea. You've got slaves from Africa, you've got people from Europe, but sailors and peasants and farmers and soldiers, and the Creoles from the Atlantic, the French Creoles from the Atlantic, Guadeloupe, Martinique, Dominique, Trinidad, all the Atlantic, all the French Creoles from Atlantic are mainly composed with the French language of the western part of France. That you have to know that in that time there were not only one French standard language, there were many languages in France. And after, all those languages have changed in itself in the small islands. For instance, when I was a kid, there was a joke. I'm from Guadeloupe, and there was a joke to say my thing in Guadeloupe Creole. You say "bitan en moins," and the phrase is going down. When you're in Martinique, you say "bay moi," and the voice is going up. But everyone in Guadeloupe and Martinique understands each other. But we have some kind of trouble to understand the Creoles of the Réunion and Mauritius and the Seychelles Islands and so on, because it is another kind of Creolization using the accent, which is weird at the same time. The way the letters are pronounced in all those territories come from a small part in northern France. It is amazing. But at the same time, African languages were in the beginning, and then after. For instance, in Guadeloupe, Martinique, Guyane, Dominique, Sainte Lucie, there had been engaged African coming to those islands after the abolition, after the end of slavery. So new African people came. So they brought back new words and new concepts in the language. And you know, everyone is listening to music. So in the French Creoles, we use now the word ital to say you are veggie. You say ital, like in the Jamaican reggae, ital. In Guadeloupe and Martinique, to say a mess, we use an Arabic word, dawa, which comes from the Paris suburbs. Yes, always moving.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a fascinating.
One
question.
short
Oh,
part.
Yes, sorry, Bruce. Go ahead.
All this going on, but Louisiana is one place where it didn't change. People in South Louisiana still speak Creole and use Creole words that they did in the early 1700s. So it definitely sounds funny to other people when they hear it. Just to say, je vais aller aux toilettes, mon picoudi na cabinet. Il n'y a pas de monde qui va dire quelque chose comme ça, Aster. And we use words like Aster. And atayo. Allez. Or let's go. Zalale wap gon paripougon. So these are like, it's frozen in time in Louisiana, but all of us are speaking and saying the same thing. These are also languages that were created out of defense, to be able to speak in front of French-speaking people, because as soon as they hear Creole, they turn their ears off immediately, and they don't even try to listen to the rest of it, because it's just an innate thing that it doesn't make sense. I hear French words, but they're put in the wrong place, so it makes no sense. And this is how people use them to survive. So.
That's very fascinating. Thank you so much. To not only consider the geographical dispersion that the Creole languages are able to sort of bring together, but also the temporal mosaic that's in there. I believe we have time for one more question. Does anybody want to ask anything? Is anybody wondering something? Okay.
I'm Joshua Vasquez, and I am I'm in French intermediate French 1. Sorry, I'm gonna try to say it in French. Correct me if I'm wrong. Comme descendante créole, avez-vous de difficultés en France?
En tant que descendante créole? Oui.
Et moi, je vais vous dire, à Paris, plutôt non. Moi, je n'ai pas de difficulté. Mais d'après vous, pourquoi?
So the Bertrand just said, well, you know what? I don't have difficulty with Creole in Paris, but you know why?
And also the Eiffel Tower. Ça fait 17 ans que j'habite à Paris, and I haven't been up the Eiffel Tower because I look at it with anger. And I'm just like, never. And so I have friends who visit, and then I'm like, this is where it is. I'll take a picture of it because I'm like, oh, the lights. But I don't want to go up it. There's like a opposite magnetic. It's hard to be, I think it's just hard to be Black in France in general. And we were talking about this when we were walking up with Kavita and Bruce about code switching. And I tend to code switch in France a lot because out of exhaustion. Because if you really go through the exhaustion of being treated horribly, depending on which space you're going to be in, sometimes I'll put on a thicker Québécois accent so people know that I'm not their Black. I'm the Black from Canada. And it's a country you like, Celine Dion. And like, oh, it's so cute. Celine Dion French. I love it.
My father was Black. Black as yesterday night, as we say in Creole. To be black as yesterday night. Things made that I have this skin color. And many people from Guadeloupe and Martinique in France used to say that they're coming from the United States of America. because being American is school. Being from Guadeloupe and Martinique, it's only, wearing a banana belt or being a waiter or something. And there is many things to say about that, but it is almost quite the same that being a Jamaican in Great Britain, as being from the small colonial empire of the Netherlands in Netherlands. It's, yes, quite. I shouldn't say that being Creole is specifically a reason to be victim of racism, but it is one reason.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much. Can we have a round of applause, please, for our panelists?